Well, before we get to our top stories tonight, Standish firefighters were called to 2 fires at the same home within hours of each other. You're looking at that here. The fire chief says crews first responded to the home on River Meadows Drive last night, putting out a fire before returning just before 5 this morning for a second fire. Everyone inside the home luckily was able to get out safely. Investigators don't know yet what caused either fire or whether the 2 incidents are connected. The garage is a total loss, unfortunately, and the side of the home was damaged. The fire chief says crews face challenges getting the fires under control, including low manpower and a limited water supply. The state fire marshal's office is now investigating the cause of both fires. And this afternoon in Pittsfield, a fire broke out at a solar farm. The cause is believed to have been an electrical malfunction that sent sparks flying into dry grass. According to the Pittsfield fire chief, I spoke with him myself today, firefighters were able to enter the facility's gates and put the fire out by 1 p.m. And luckily, the power was cut off automatically, so it wasn't able to spread. Some homes were without power, though, for a few hours, but CMP has turned everything back on, and luckily no one was hurt. Well, a group of clergy members is joining a growing list of community leaders denouncing the killing of Colombian national Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero by an ICE agent in Biddeford. Our Drew Peters takes it from here.
You shall not oppress a stranger.
Exodus 23:9.
You may have seen these words on the quilted sign above the memorial along the fence at Mechanics Park in Biddeford.
A verse ingrained in Reverend Sarah Ewing Merrill's mind.
Because that is what we have done and what we are doing as a country, oppressing strangers.
Strangers, like Colombian national Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero.
We mourn his death not as a death of a stranger, but as one who walked our streets.
Merrill and other Maine clergy members.
Here comes the dawn.
Mourning Duran Guerrero's death. And joining other faith leaders in Minnesota, Texas, and Florida to call for an end to killings by ICE agents.
We call for an end to vehicle stops because they endanger our communities.
We should raise our voices in protest and agony and heartbreak.
Agony, heartbreak, and fear that Reverend Jarrett Kerbel and fellow church leaders say pushes immigrant congregates into hiding.
These are threats against religious practitioners that we love and are neighbors with. And our job has been to reach out, show solidarity.
It really started a couple of years ago.
For Linda Sanborn, a member of Gorham's First Parish UCC Church, that solidarity looks like delivering groceries and searching for lawyers to help congregates with deportation hearings.
I feel very strongly that we are our brother's keeper, and it's upon all of us to take care of each other.
Gestures Muslim community leader and Somali immigrant Abdullahi Ahmed says can make all the difference to immigrant neighbors feeling targeted.
There is positive energy, that there are people who are here to support, and this is not the majority of the people who are doing this.
That was our Drew Peters reporting. And the faith leaders are also calling for elected officials to oppose all additional funding to ICE and for the return of all Maine residents unlawfully detained by ICE. Well, some union nurses with Maine Health are urging the health system to cut ties with data management company Palantir. Palantir works closely with ICE on immigration enforcement efforts, including tracking non-citizens. And the nurses held a rally near Maine Medical Center in Portland today to voice their concerns. Maine Health says it uses Palantir's technology to help patients challenge insurance claim denials. It says there are safeguards in place to protect patient information and that it maintains full control over how patient data is used and shared. But the nurses union says any partnership with Palantir is unacceptable, and they say the company's involvement could also impact trust between patients and healthcare workers.
If people seek care with us, and they are afraid that seeking that care is going to expose them to harm for immigration enforcement. That's a huge concern. And as nurses, we are caregivers, and we put our patients first, and we need to keep our patients safe. And to do that, Maine Health needs to end its relationship with Palantir.
And while the fight against Palantir has been ongoing, union nurses say the deadly ICE shootings in Biddeford highlight why they believe change is necessary. Immigration authorities are detaining an Atlanta-based plastic surgeon in Vermont. She's originally from Iran. Protesters showed support for Dr. Shohreh Ghashimi outside of federal court. The Atlanta-based oral and plastic surgeon was arrested last month, and authorities say she illegally crossed the border into Derby after being denied entry at a crossing in Toronto on her way back from a conference. Her lawyer, Jared Carter, says traveling internationally is nothing out of the ordinary for Ghashimi, who lectures worldwide.
This is somebody that's lived and practiced medicine in the United States for a decade. Travels all over the world speaking at conferences in her area of expertise. When she went to Canada to speak at a conference, she attempted to return through regular ports of entry multiple times, was denied access despite her entire life being here.
And Carter says she's working to become a permanent U.S. resident, but federal authorities say she lied to law enforcement. In court documents, prosecutors allege she falsified her age in her identification documents. A big victory for more than 500,000 people who carry federal student loan debt. It concerns a 2022 settlement that locked in $23 billion in relief for more than 500,000 federal student loan borrowers, ending a class action lawsuit. Now, the Department of Education and Secretary Linda McMahon must continue to discharge those loans. That's after a federal appeals court last week unanimously rejected the DOE's appeal to delay following through on delivering settlement money. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling follows months of challenges by the Trump administration. It took issue with a smaller group of borrowers caught between the finalizing of the settlement, but before the court approved it. Maine's political landscape has taken center stage the past few weeks. The withdrawal of former Democratic U.S. Senate nominee Graham Plattner and then the fatal ICE shooting in Biddeford have captured national attention. So if you're feeling a little more stressed than normal, you are not alone. A mental health expert from NAMI, Maine says the nonstop news cycle can affect overall mental well-being. A University of Maine political science expert says constant political uncertainty can take two avenues, either motivating people to get involved or causing them to disengage.
Where you start to see people drop off is like if there's uncertainty that leads to a feeling of just chaos.
There's just this constant tension that, you see it on the news feed, you're seeing it in social media, the commercials, and it's just nonstop. And I think many of us are carrying that.
And if you need assistance or someone to talk to, you can call NAMI Maine's helpline, 1-800-464-5767, *1.